We are officially off and running in the month of May in Indianapolis. Welcome to the world's greatest race course for Road Course Weekend. The Sonsio Grand Prix tomorrow, 3 o'clock on NBC and Peacock. And just like that, there is one session remaining before qualifying to set the grid coming up later this afternoon. Hi everyone, Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, Marty Snyder. Lee Diffie will join us a little bit later on this afternoon as well, along with James Hinchcliffe. We've got Townsend one session done today. What'd you take away from that first practice?
I loved it. I loved the raciness of some unexpected candidates popping up on the charts. No more so than number 78. Augie Canapino getting it done. I mean, he was P1 there with just a few minutes left. He was pipped by Colton Herta on their red tire runs. But Canapino continues to show everybody that he is figuring things out in his second season, putting everything to good work. He's been close to his teammate a couple of times so far in the earlier races this season with Romain Grosjean. So I'm really excited that pace, at least over one lap, looks super legit. And then you've got stories like Rinus VeeKay, who's had a lot of success here. Marcus Ericsson kind of getting a nice pump, or I should say pop, which we've been looking for as he is at ready this year. So some great names in the top 10 to start things off.
It went well for some. There were challenges for others. Down the pit lane and Marty Snyder.
Yeah, Kev, first laps of the day really for Graham Rahal and Marcus Armstrong as well. In the first session today, two brand new Honda engines for these two race teams, and both of those engines let go before either driver really got a lap in earnest. So the backup engines are in for both Graham Rahal and Marcus Armstrong. I checked in with both teams and they said they did not get any word from Honda as to what the issues were or if the issues were related in any way. And here's how it went down earlier this morning in that practice session. Graham Rahal shut the engine off on his own, said something just didn't feel right, relayed that to the team. Marcus Armstrong did not get to that shutdown quite as quick and actually had a fire in that engine, but they did go to backup engines. Townsend, here's the issue you and I were talking about before this practice session. It's not like Honda or Chevy really brings a lot of backup engines to the racetrack for any given race weekend. It's very rare you see an engine issue, but much less two back-to-back like that. So what does Honda do from here? Do they have to go to California and grab some more engines and send them to Indy, or are they not worried about that for the rest of the weekend?
Well, I talked to Honda just about 30 minutes ago, and they weren't able to tell me what the issue is just yet, simply because they don't know. They're still looking into what happened from the first practice from this car and, of course, from Graham Rahal, like you mentioned. They bring roughly 6 spare engines to a normal weekend like this. However, there's a lot more than 6 Hondas in the field, and it's probably too early to say as both the 15 and the 11 crews do the kind of leak check, install lap inspection to make sure everything's going fine for now. But here's the other issue, is that those engines were installed because that's the engine they'll use typically through the Indy 500, and if there was any kind of spec upgrade or development upgrade that they wanted to introduce for the month of May that might cause this issue, that would be cause for concern. So, Marty, I think it's a wait-and-see situation. Like, if there's an issue with another Honda in this practice session, then I think you really got to be nervous. I know they'll be hoping that it's just an anomaly for the 15 and 11. Really, they can't tell exactly what happens entirely until they get the engine back to HRC in California. I asked that question. They would get that motor crated up tonight, air freighted overnight back to Honda in California, and start doing a full teardown before they probably really know how this all happened.
Good look at the number 78 Pukos Hollinger Chevy of Augustine Canapino, second fastest in this morning's session in the opening moments, just a couple of laps in. Third quick so far here today, as he continues to impress in his second year, not just in IndyCar, but in single-seaters. Pukos Hollinger is looking to take some of the experience that Grosjean has had here too, but so far it's Canapino that's the one that's been quicker. And here's new full-time, almost full-time driver of the number 6 for Arrow McLaren, Théo Pourchaire, who just went to the top in the opening moments. Announced yesterday that he will drive every race in this car the rest of the season other than the Indianapolis 500. We do not have confirmation on that yet. We expect it to be Callum Ilott, but that was an unanswered question. Would they split the rest of the year between Ilott and Pourchaire? They won't. They'll get a good look at Pourchaire, and he will be in the mix for consideration for 2025.
Yeah, David Malukas, unfortunately, not healing quick enough from that wrist injury from the mountain bike crash. They put Pourchaire in. He really impressed. He got the opportunity. But you talk about the Indy 500, Kevin. How do you not put Tony Kanaan, your sporting principal, Indy 500 winner, tons of experience. You know he can fall out of bed and go to the top of the charts with a fast race car around here. And, boy, it'd be awfully tempting to put him in the seat.
Well, I suspect it was discussed. From talking to Tony, I think he is enjoying his role. I also doesn't think he wants to hear us rib him about how he keeps retiring and coming back.
We're talking about Indianapolis and Tony Kanaan. He doesn't care what anybody says. If there's a chance that he can get in that seat, boy, I would think he would be all over that. So we'll have to watch it. Nothing against Callum Ilott. He's done a great job. When he showed up for a couple races this season, his TK watches on. I promise you he is in shape. I promise you in that head somewhere, there's a wheel turning thinking there's a chance.
Well, you can't 100% rule it out, and I think he is going to turn laps. From my understanding, he is going to need to get in the car and essentially go through the refresher program to be the standby driver for Kyle Larson. He is the reserve driver for Larson. If for some reason there's a long rain delay on race day and Larson decides he needs to go to Charlotte for the Cup race, then Tony Kanaan is the plan. So we'll get more information, as they say, in due course.
It's going to be fun.
There's Rasmussen in the number 20. And on that car, I am told there is a decal that is, there it is, honoring Wally Dallenbach. We worked with Wally's son, Wally Jr., for many years on these broadcasts, and his dad is one of the greats. Won IndyCar races 5 different times. Coulda, shoulda, maybe won the 1975 Indy 500, finish up in the front. And he was the chief steward in IndyCar racing for many years, including when you first got into IndyCar, right, Townsend?
He was indeed. Wasn't a huge fan of Townsend's driving his rookie year. He parked me on occasion. And
I don't think he was the only one.
He was fair. He was fair. Had the black hat. And when he talked, you listened, especially as a chief steward, as a former driver, that's a little bit different, right? And his opinion counted for a lot. So we'll remember Wally Sr. all through the month of May, and it's a great sticker to remind us of the personality, the career, and the contribution to this sport.
13 Indy 500 starts, ran up front a lot. So thinking of Wally's friends and family here just a few weeks after his passing. Good for Ed Carpenter Racing to pay respect to him. Meanwhile, a moment ago, on board the Delaware Life Honda with Marcus Ericsson. Uh-oh. Still headed the right direction.
Looked a lot like the number 2 at Joseph Newgarden in practice 1. Eerily similar.
Just a moment ago, this is Tom Blomqvist.
Ooh, same spot. Exiting turn 10, the left side's getting on that grass. Nice little 360 recovery. We'll come in and check all 4 Firestones. Now, luckily for Blomqvist, a rookie, you get an extra set of Firestone primaries on Fridays, so not as potentially damaging to your tire inventory as it would be for a veteran. Blomqvist 15th in practice 1. He sits 18th right now. Made nice progress, I thought, at Barber. The pace started to get a little bit better than it had the first couple of rounds, but I'll still maintain that for Blomqvist, he's going to have his first ever oval race at the Indy 500 later this month. And then I think I've always felt like for him, he's got to get to Laguna Seca. He's got to kind of hang in there, keep learning, get to Laguna Seca, a track where he's been several times in IMSA. And then that second half of the season with some of the road courses where he's familiar, like Road America.
Well, even Toronto, where he debuted last year, raced about 100 yards, but
that's where I think it's going to be fair to really start drawing some judgments like, okay, now you've got to start producing. How about this guy delivering first career podium at Barber? And I love the quote from Linus Lundqvist. He said, you know, in the final stint, I was looking down and realized to myself, we're fast, we're good. Almost a bit surprised. And there's something about getting to the podium for the first time that does so much for your confidence, knowing you can do the job, but also knowing that you delivered on pace.
I can't quite yet drive the car that they do because of their experience, but I'll get there.
Got a red flag here for Jack Harvey, the 18. He spun, or at least has come to a stop at the exit of turn 10. That's where we've seen the problem just with Bloomquist. He's off way early. Tried to stay with it on the throttle, knowing he was going to get to the timeline. And just before this, understanding that Alexander Rossi had the same issue. Watch this. So that's the sign of a guy with a lot of experience. He knows that when that left rear gets off onto the grass, that more right pedal's not going to help. So he got right out of the throttle, waited for things to settle down, and then ramped back up to start another lap. Looked like Harvey got wide, tried to hang on and complete the timed lap, and it was too much. Turn 2. Gets crossed up. Looks like everything's all right here, and then he just spins up the rear in that transition where you're asking the car to go from hard load left to full load right. That happens twice here. Well, really 3 times if you include the chicane. Fast set of hands, though. We talk about it all the time. I'd love to see that guy. I was thinking about it. You know, Midwest, summertime, dirt track racing. I'd love to see him in a sprint car. What do you think?
I would too. I don't know if he would. That's the key.
Oh, you kidding? He would love it.
Okay.
Give him 1 lap.
Well, there are probably people who could make that happen. A few moments ago, Graham Rahal. Let's see what happened to him.
Brake zone for turn 12. Left side's got into the wall with a little bit of a cuddle. That's about right, actually. That's what you're going to be looking for in qualifying to maximize the radius. So, pretty good spatial awareness, frankly. Did look like that threw him off one bit. A lot of times you see that with Will Power here down in turn 1, too.
So weak in many places, but the rear is on edge, you know, far more than we typically have here, too. Yeah, copy. Here we are.
Well, about 10 minutes ago, I was commenting on how impressive the rear end looked on the 15 in terms of stability, but after a few laps, clearly the degradation is starting to set in and things are getting away from Graham there.
Hey, Joseph Newgarden down the track right now as we about click under 5 minutes here left in this session. Townsend, you know how fast it is here on the front stretch at Indianapolis when you run the road course and how slow it is going into turn 1. If you're right on board with Joseph Newgarden, you can hear how much he has to go down in the gears. Let's listen to it as he goes down into turn 1 right here. So that's fantastic on track, Townsend, but when you're on pit road, that's not so fantastic. They have to run such a tall gear here on the Indy road course. Earlier, Joseph Newgarden was leaving his pit stall and stalled the car because he has such a tall first gear. So could this be an issue during the race on pit road tomorrow, Townsend, when you're making a pit stop and that first gear is so difficult to hit behind the wheel? Could that be an issue tomorrow?
Of course it could be an issue, but you have to remember, too, that he's launching there probably on hot Firestones. All the pit stops are more than likely going to be cold tires going on, either scuff tires or stickers. So the gearbox can more easily overpower a cold tire, has less grip inherently leaving the box. But yeah, this is probably the most difficult pit launch of the season for that reason, because he's trying to run that taller first gear on the racetrack, and you give up something in terms of the pit launch. In fact, last year, Kevin, you remember all the clutch issues that we were seeing on pit lane? For that reason, a lot of teams were struggling.
Both Junco's cars coming through here just a moment ago. Alex Palou, Marcus Armstrong in that red and white IU Simon Cancer Center car with a little bit of traffic. Look this way, go that way. And Romain Grosjean in the action.
Not unusual. How about this for Colton Herta down in turn 1? Is that Teo Pourchaire in the Aero McLaren number 6? There might be a little salute. That's a championship salute. You know, rookie Colton, year 2 Colton, that might be a fist, that might be a bird. So we see some lockup, and now it's just like, hey, dude, what's up with that? But to me, that shows calmness, maturity in the cockpit. It's a practice session. Colton's not going to get too worked up over that.
So practice 2 is complete. He was 3rd quickest this morning, and Will Power, Marty, 2nd quick in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's been a good Friday for Will Power and this team. Boy, how much did the track change there from this morning when it was so much cooler to this session, Will?
Yeah, it did change a little bit, but just different tires. You know, the reds are so much nicer to drive on. But, yeah, we haven't changed much. We're still close to where we were.
So that begs the question. I mean, it was a primary tire race here in the fall, which is not normally the case at the GP. What is your initial feel that it might be tomorrow?
Oh, I think it'll be definitely a red race. Yeah. I mean, the tires are just harder this year. So it'll go back to kind of the old style race here where you got to run all your reds.
All right, your timing span's a little barren because you're missing 2 team members, but how has the communication been with Dave Faustino, who's kind of playing double roles this weekend?
It's very good, you know, pretty flawless actually. Dave's, I guess, been on for so long and been on my car for so long that it's just everything's second nature to him. So yeah, been pretty straightforward. You know, it is disappointing not to have everyone on the stand, but we've got good guys here, so we're making up for it.
There you go, and it's been a good day, a good smooth day for Will Power and this 12 team, which is exactly what they wanted, and they clearly have the speed at a place, Kevin, where he has won 5 times.
Looking for number 6, and when he won the Indy 500, he also won the road course event that year, so it is important. Augustine Canapino still in the top 10. Impressive day for him.
Another good pace day for Felix Rosenqvist. He's qualified 2nd, 1st, and 5th to start the season. Rosenqvist doing it again in practice in the top 5.
I think Rasmussen stands out there in 13th as a rookie. A couple of the Andretti's near the end of that page, 19th and 20th.
How about Teo Pourchaire there? He was in 17th. Santino Ferrucci back there. Linus Lundqvist, that's a little surprise. The fresh podium finisher, finishing 22nd